Hi, folks. Today I have some breaking news that the Siberian Tiger has been arrested for contempt of court. But before we start today's video, as always, a big thank you to all of my current and new channel members and subscribers. Without all of your support, I couldn't keep the channel going, so I want to thank you all personally from the bottom of my heart. And a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Aura. It's my favorite time of year, spooky season. And what's scarier than any monster? Data thieves. This is where today's sponsor can help, Aura. Aura is an all-in-one digital security system that offers peace of mind and tons of benefits. Like 24-hour monitoring of your credit and personal information so it doesn't end up on the dark web. It also has password protection, parental controls, and can even put an end to those pesky scam calls.
Hello?
I'm calling about your car's extended warranty.
And what's worse than a Nightmare on Elm Street? Identity theft. And Aura can help put a stop to that too. Aura is offering you a free 14-day trial by using my link or scanning the QR code on the screen that you can cancel at any time. So click my link or go to aura.com/NCR and keep your personal data safe. That's aura.com/NCR or scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description box and start your free 14-day trial. Thank you again to Aura for sponsoring today's video, and don't forget to sign up for your free 14-day trial. Not only is it the best way to keep your personal data safe, but it's one of the best ways to help support me and the channel. With all that being said, let's enjoy today's video.
Hi you guys, my name is Victoria. Many of you don't know, but I'm a spouse of Leonard, the Siberian Tiger. He runs the YouTube channel. So this morning, we were in 9 a.m. court for a traffic citation. I took him there. We went out together because we had a gut feeling there was something brewing. Anyway, while we were in court, the bottom line is my husband got arrested in the contempt of court for 48 hours. And I am livid because usually I do not. My ethics, my morals are usually super high. It requires by my profession. And I am really usually committed, to listen to the person, to see the point of view, to basically...
Shenanigans. Shenanigans. And I'm gonna call shenanigans on what Miss Siberian Tiger just said. Now, she says that she's usually calm and rational and listens to people. But in the first video I've ever seen with her in, which was the infamous impounding of the vehicle and the SWAT raid on his house, she locked herself in a car that was being repossessed. And then when law enforcement came and surrounded the vehicle and asked her to get out multiple times, she refused, to the point where they had to smash the back window, unlock the door, and remove her from the vehicle. They had ordered her to get out of the vehicle, and they explained that they had lawful cause to do so, and she refused to do that. So much for that integrity. So much for being upfront and honest. But then what can we expect from the wife of the Siberian Tiger? She's saying that he got arrested for contempt of court, and I'm willing to bet he pulled some of his same shenanigans in there. So let's hear what happened next.
Being open-minded as possible I can. I always been that way. I'm the grounded person for our marriage and for our family. I usually, the one that's keeps the things, grounded in our family, run the background. And I usually, I've been married to my husband for a while, so I know he can be hard-tempered.
He's an asshole.
But I also like his honesty. He's blunt. And I think I'm more blunt and more honest than he is. And I think that's what makes us a great team, for us. But anyway, so today at 9 a.m. we were in court for traffic citation. Long story short, I should say it. The traffic citation, the whole process in the court, the judge, I believe The judge's name is, I know Larry Jr. last name, but I don't know. It's in Clackamas Court, Municipal Court. He's the only judge there. And he's got a lawsuit open against this judge in the court. So for a different matter, and before we walked in with the traffic citation, my husband said, hey, judge, just FYI, we have a conflict of interest. You know, is there a way you want to recuse yourself so we can move on? The judge said, nope, I don't care. Like, let's move on. Okay.
Now, it's very serious to ask a judge to recuse themselves. You must show that the judge has a plain, unfair bias to one side in the court case. But you're saying that the judge is being sued by your husband. Okay, well, your husband's suing a lot of people at this point. He's just going around throwing out lawsuits like, you know, they're going out of style. But the judge wouldn't have to recuse himself. Now, this isn't a serious case where it could affect the freedom of somebody. Now, this is simply a traffic citation case. You know, he's arguing if the merits of the ticket is valid and if he still has to pay it. I'm willing to bet this whole thing is being blown out of proportion to make it seem like the judge was being unfair due to how the Siberian Tiger acts in court. I mean, we've seen his other videos of him in court where he has become very hostile to the prosecution, hostile to the judge, and had been warned several times to calm down or he'll be fined in contempt.
The whole process, anytime, so on the stand was the deputy that he was, that pulled him over, and his pullover, I think there is a video, in his, channel where basically he was hunted for.
Dramatization may not have happened.
Deputy, pulled him over and hunt him for because he knows, he just left the courtroom for the video they posted. I know it's there. And he hunted him and pulled him away. And my husband was just trying to say, hold on a second. What was the reason for pullover? You just know who I am. You're going after me. Anyway, so that was the traffic citation for. In the whole process, well, my husband was trying to ask the deputy questions. The judge constantly protected the deputy. He constantly clarified anything that deputy said. Anytime my husband said, hold on a second, I'm asking the person, the deputy, just says, no, that's not how it works. Like,
so this is stemming from the incident where his vehicle was impounded when he had just left the courtroom from another person. And he was driving on an invalid license in the state of Washington. Now, she's saying that the judge was clarifying for the deputy and trying to talk over and not allowing her husband to speak. Well, if it's anything like the last few times we've seen him in court, I'm willing to bet the judge had to clarify certain items like happened before when he was doing a traffic citation case over a parking ticket. He kept arguing with the meter maid over the definitions of certain words and the definitions of certain parts of the sign that said he could not park there. Now, I'm willing to bet he was very argumentative and asking questions that were highly unrelated to the case. Then again, we don't have the video of what happened in the courtroom, and I doubt we will. We're going off of what she's saying. But going off what she's saying and what we know he is like in court, I'm willing to put money on it that he was highly aggressive to the deputy and was asking questions that were totally irrelevant to the case.
You know, I don't care. Like, move on. He's like, another question. 5 minutes before I even go in, 5 minutes into the court, the judge said, hey, just FYI, if anything happens, or I know you're, you know, from previous interactions, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court. There were all deputies that he's suing in the previous, all were present. So this was so staged and so set up that you cannot deny it.
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
I think Judge just digged a bigger hole for himself because he should have recused and should have moved on. But the fact that the judge constantly throw it that he's going to hold contempt of court because my husband called him out and he said, hey, judge, at this point, it looks like you're being a lawyer for the county instead of being a judge. Would you mind let us, ask the question, I ask the question, do my due process, what is legally my right, ask the question and do things like that. And then you can decide what's the outcome. He wasn't having it. He was like, if you're going to continue, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court. If you're going to continue, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court. Like, my husband couldn't ask basically any question. He finally said, okay. He started to raise his hand.
So the judge warned your husband not to commit the same shenanigans that he's done before in prior courtrooms, in prior cases, or he would be found in contempt. So I was spot on with my thought that this was because of him doing his same thing he does every time in court. He argues with the defense, not the defense, but the prosecution's witness, which would be the deputy. He argues with the prosecution and makes comments to the judge. It looks like the judge gave him warning after warning to stop with the theatrics and the, asking questions that are not relevant, or, doing these things that we've seen him do and know he has done and says he will do again, to the point where the judge said, the hell with it. We're going to find you in contempt. This is what happens when your husband plays fuck around and find out. And he found out.
Oh, before anything, the beginning, my husband requested for a video to be recorded at the courthouse because they don't have recordings. Only, I think, body cameras they have. But for some reason, they don't do court recordings, which is, they do have cameras, but they don't record. And I think I know why, because they don't want to show what's going on in their courtroom. He asked for the permission to grant the permission to record. The judge said no video, but you can do an audio. So my husband couldn't figure it out because judge was like, you don't have time for this. We need to move on. Like, do it. My husband's like, okay, fine. He was doing things. So in the process, there was evidence, and he was asking the deputy, hey, did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? And deputy said, I'm not answering that question. I'm not answering that question. And
it sounds like you're providing us with more proof that your husband was asking questions that were irrelevant to his case. Now, this is something that he has done before. I have seen him personally do this in several of his videos when he's been into court. He'll ask questions that have no relevance to his case. For example, when he was fighting the ticket he got for parking in a no parking zone, he began to ask the meter maid questions that were totally irrelevant to the case, asking how long she's been working in that particular area. Does she understand the definitions of this? Does she understand that? Was the ticket machine calibrated? To the point where even the prosecution was saying that the questions that he was asking was irrelevant, and so did the judge. At that point, Siberian Tiger then accused the prosecution of testifying for behalf of the mirror maid. But this is what he does. He asks questions and he provokes responses that are highly inappropriate, or just argues with the judge and the prosecution to win his case, or what he feels he wins his case. And this time, he bit off more than he could chew.
My husband said, well, hold on, judge, can he answer that question? No, he doesn't have to. Like, he doesn't have to. Like, as I said, I'm usually a ground person, but law is a law. It's written from both sides. So how are we supposed to have any, protection from laws if the judge is absolutely not obeying the law? Like, we're supposed to look up to judges and say, hey, we got the fair trial, both on the stand. This is what, the process is. We go through the process and the judge make a decision on the evidence. But when the judge already made his decision before we even walked in the courtroom was set up. As I said, all the deputies that he saw was over there. He had other extra 2 people witnesses just to see what's happening. They had the court staff there while all observing. Like, at first, they were iffy for me to get in, which is this open courtroom house. I can be there. It was so staged that even I didn't felt like I knew the law that well.
But didn't you just say in the beginning of this video that you don't handle the court stuff usually? It's your husband who does it because he understands it more than you do? there is something you need to understand. The judge, the man in the black robe, holds all the power in the courtroom. Now, yes, you're supposed to get a fair trial, but when your husband has a history of causing a scene in the courthouse, causing a scene in the courtroom, asking irrelevant questions, badgering witnesses, harassing and arguing with the prosecution and the judge, how can you not expect them to want to have more of a show of force inside there to show him, hey, if you start acting a fool, we will punish you?
Clearly can see that they were just there to go after him. So I did hire all lawyers. I did, do everything. I don't know exactly a lot about the legal process. My husband does all of our legal stuff, but I am livid. And as I said, I'm usually the one that's grounded. I'm usually the one that I gave reasonable, reasons to say, hey, maybe they had no choice. Maybe this is his job. Maybe that's what he has to do. But there are some courts where that's fine. We've been through quite a few, and some judges are, honest, and then they follow the law and says, yes, I get it. And, the both sides, sometimes my husband, sometimes the other side gets slapped on the wrist, and we get it. That's the law. But when you're so biased and you know it and you're not afraid, that's what's scary. That is super scary. How can you, a presenting judge, be sitting on the bench? And I understand you have to work with police officer and protect him, but he has to answer the questions if somebody's asking him.
Yes, the police officer would have to answer questions if they are relevant to the case at hand. Knowing your husband, he was probably asking questions that had no bearing or no anything that would affect the outcome of his case, other than trying to establish that the cop has a bias against him, that this was a plan set up by the government to take him down. Because your husband is that paranoid, lady. I mean, think about it. He thinks that the cops are trying to silence him because of the SWAT raid when you guys were fighting to not let your car be repoed, and he was threatening the tow truck drivers. The fact that he's encouraging your children to become frauditors like him. I mean, I really would question your husband's sanity and capabilities as a parent at that point.
You make a decision when you look at both evidence, but you don't make a decision before any evidence got played out. Like, what, and I understand that they did on purpose. They put the deputy first so they can, route my husband. And of course he lost his cool and everything, but he tried so hard.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
And he said, Judge, what are the rules? What do you want me to do? How do you want me? Do you want me to raise my hand when you're ready? So I don't feel like I interrupt you. Do you want me to do this? And the judge was like, yeah, that's what you want to do. Okay. So he did it and he still didn't like it. So as I said, it was so set up. It was so done. And I am livid. So anyway, we're going to wait it out 48 hours. I guess that's the process. And, my husband will record his opinion of what it is, but I am beyond of the corruption on a higher level that these courts have. It's just, I knew, but how? You're not afraid that you have to answer for the things that you do? How do people sleep at night?
On top of a pile of money with many beautiful ladies.
Just asking.
How's your conscience work? Don't you, I understand that I have a tough job and I get it. And, but moral ethics, where are those? You're serving the public. They entrusted you with, pretty much being there and be for them and for all the people, but you're just decided to make a choice of, picking the corrupt side. I guess he can sleep at night. I don't know. I'm flabbergasted. I'll be honest. I'm flabbergasted. Anyway, I'm probably ramping.
And we're going to hear, folks, The remainder of the video is just her rambling about how she's mad that her husband got locked up by this corrupt judge and it was biased all throughout, and how she might have to come back on camera again because she doesn't know if this is ever going to happen again. But knowing how her husband acts, it's going to probably happen again where you'll have to come on and explain that your husband fucked up and got arrested yet again. So if you guys like this video, please like, share, subscribe, leave a thumbs up and a comment because it helps me with the algorithm. Don't forget to check out my second channel, the podcast, and don't forget to sign up for your free 14-day trial of Aura. With all that being said, be well, be safe, and I'll see you guys next time. And a special thank you to all members of the news team. Without all of your support, I couldn't keep the channel going. So I want to thank you all personally from the bottom of my heart. You guys mean the world to me, and I could never thank you enough. You guys rock.